Hey guys, I'm Jonathan Russell, and I'm going to take you through the process of how I edit a movie. Previously, I always just described the process of the whole entire part of the movie, like how I came together with the script and how I filmed it and costumes and all that, but you've seen that before. Hardly ever have I ever let out how the editing process goes. And you may think that it's just a tedious process, and it might be at times, but it's actually a really interesting and fascinating process. And feel free to take this and use this to make your own movies, because it's really quite simple, and it's really easy, and I think if you just watch it over and over again, you yourself can make movies. First of all, we'll start with that the movie maker that you want to use is Windows Movie Studio. Now, I have a Vista computer, Windows Vista. I don't know if they have that on Windows 7. You'll have to check that out, but I prefer the Vista. Windows 7 and Windows 8 have a new operating system. I don't really like that. But so, if I were you, stick with Vista, but I would assume that the new Windows has a it has a movie maker that's the same thing. So, you want to start with that, because that's one of the most easy and user-friendly softwares out there. You want that. Also, one that I use to help me in doing changing formats mostly, but I also use it for green screen, is Vegas Movie Studio. I forgot what that is, but I'll enter a caption during this part when I remember where it is. It's a great software. It's good because it has 4 soundtracks versus the Windows Movie Studio only having 1. But it's good if you're using it just to start off. So Vegas is good when you want to advance your skills. I myself haven't really explored everything on it, but it's definitely the next step up. It has green screen options to make things transparent when you use a green screen. I mostly use it so I can have multiple sound tracks, and I use it for the lightsaber when I'm making the lightsaber scene in Star Wars vs. Star Trek, because then I can have more than one sound going at the same time, so it's very vital at those times, and for many other reasons. So, let's start with the first step. Alright, so, the first step in making my movie is organizing. You're going to be wondering, like, what do you mean organizing? Well, when I shoot my videos, I have to do it when it's most convenient for me, and that means that I have to do them out of order. So I have to take the time to order each video in the order that it needs to be. Like, I wrote down all my scenes right here in the order that they're supposed to be filmed. So, like here, you'll see something like, let me focus it here. Gosh, well, it's not focusing, but it'll say something like Scene 2A Green. Because it's like, it's the second scene, it's the first video in the second scene, and it's green because it was taken by my green camera. I have like 2 or 3 cameras that I like to use at all times for various angles. So you want to make sure you label all your scenes, or you're going to get very, very confused. Mostly just try to shoot them in order, but if you have to not shoot them, just make sure you have a little legend there that tells you which scenes are where, and that way you can kind of watch the video and kind of figure out where you are. Because that makes it a lot easier when you're putting video together if you know what you're looking for, okay? Alright, so now that they're in order, let me take you to the next part. Okay, so the first step was organizing. The second step is formatting. Now, this isn't a completely necessary step. For most of you, the videos should come out in the correct format. Like the camera that I'm using right now is a Kodak EasyShare. That comes out in a WMV format, which is great because that's optimized for Windows and you don't have to do any sort of formatting. But my better camera is like, what is it? Oh yeah, it's a Nikon D3100. Now those don't come in Windows format specifically. They come in MOV format. Now I will tell you, this is where you're going to be limited on Windows Movie Studio, because Windows Movie Studio can only take WMV and AVI, and that's about, I mean, it takes other stuff, but cameras don't take anything really, they don't shoot anything different than that besides MOV. MOV is another popular one. And so, what you do, if you can't use the right format in Movie Maker, what are you going to do? Well, that's what mainly I use Vegas Movie Studio for. Vegas Movie Studio, you put any format in there, I don't care what it is. So let's say you want to use Windows Movie Maker, but it's a bad format. So go ahead and put it put the video inside Vegas Movie Studio, or, hey, and by the way, if you have any sort of format converter, feel free to use that. I'm just talking about Vegas Movie Studio, because that's what I use. Anyways, I would put it in there, and just publish it, which means just save it, and it would automatically change the video AVI, just by saving it. So now that the video is AVI, now I can just drag that into Windows Movie Studio, and now it's applicable. So that's good. So basically you just want to make sure everything is formatable. Okay, the next step is sound adjusting. Let me make clear that this documentary is how I make movies, so there's special variations that the average person will not have to do, such as the previous one that I was just talking about, which is having to format. I don't know if you're necessarily going to have to do that. So that's a step that I have to do. Here's another step that probably only I have to do. For my camera, my D3100 only, not the Kodak, but that one in particular, it delays the sound about a half a second. That could be disastrous, because if you're watching a conversation scene, the movement of the mouth is off from the sound. And so then, the whole time you're trying to not notice the difference, but it is bothersome. So what I have to do is realign it. So look right here, watch this scene of the movie, and watch how the mouth is a little bit off from the sound.
So, we're done with that planet. There's about 2 million people on there, and there's just like 526.
Now, I know you couldn't really tell that much, but it's there, and people will notice. And so what you have to do, or what I had to do, is, here's my movie maker, by the way, and so I'll take the scene, and I'll put it in the timeline, and what I'll do is I'll take another copy of the scene, and put it in the audio and music department. And so I'll make it bigger so I can see, and I'll move this thing over. And a lot of times, here's another like sub thing. A lot of times you can't move the video over. That's the thing. In Vegas Movie Studio, you can move it over to any time frame. So if you want it to start 5 seconds late, then it will. But for Windows Movie Studio, Windows Movie Maker, it's going to move the video to the fastest possible. So like here, since there's nothing here, it's going to be the first thing that plays. So what I do is that I have a screen that is black. It's just a black screen. I just made a little PowerPoint picture. It's just black. So what I'll do is that if I want some extra time, I'll enter that into the timeline, and now the video's not going to start for like 5 seconds. I have it set for like 1 second, and I probably don't need that much, but now see how the sound is now going to start earlier than the video. Then I'll mute the sound of the actual video. Hence, when I actually start it, the video will be timed perfectly, because since I said the sound was too late, now the sound is earlier than the video. So that's kind of a delay for me, because that's what I have to do for all my scenes that involve the black camera. Lucky for this movie, I don't have a lot of that to do, so that saves a lot of time. Alright, and now we'll move on to the next and biggest scene, or the next and biggest part of movie editing. The next part is what I call basic scene alignment, and this is the biggest part by far. It's the first thing I really do that involves the actual editing in the scene or the movie. That just means, what I mean by aligning is just my first basic draft of the movie, just lining up the scenes back to back, cutting out the extra unnecessary stuff, because a lot of times I'll start the scene but I'm not actually ready to film, so in my editing process I'll just cut off the earlier part. If I need to say something to the cast members once I've started the film or the shot, then I'll just cut that off and start where we actually begin our script. So this basic alignment just involves having each scene lined up as shown here. Right now, this is just a test, it's not part of the movie, but I have 3 videos. And I'm talking about as just simple as lining them up in order. So if I want this one over here, hence it's going to be over there. And so at the end of making the basic alignment, all it's going to be, there's not going to be any sound effects or music, there might not even be good sound on the video itself, but the order is maintained, which is important because I can't really get in all the music and stuff when I don't really know what's going to be shown. And a huge part of video alignment is if the video has the half-second sound delay, like I was talking about. So this is especially crucial because then now I have to, add another soundtrack like that and mute the original soundtrack. And so that's mainly what the basic sound thing for, but it's also just to get out my ideas and just get it all out there together. But I do like to try to optimize the sound as I go, because I try to, as I go, I want to get the sound for the actual scenes perfect. So see, here's the volume right there for Windows Movie Maker, and it's very simple, just adjust the volume. And I turn it up as much as I can, but if you turn it up too loud, then you're gonna get that kind of echoey noise. I can't really describe it too much, but you don't want that. You want it just loud enough to hear. And you can kind of test it because find a familiar volume that you always will go to. Like for me, I always set it on volume 10, which is very low. I'll plug in my headphones and then I'll listen to that, because you'll notice listening to something on speakers is much different than listening to it on headphones. And in fact, you may want to compare the two and add a sample track of music just to compare, because a lot of times if you just set the volume, it'll sound good because there's nothing loud trying to make it go over, but you're going to find out that it's going to get quite muted later. Luckily, you'll be able to change the sound to each video as you go. The next step is saves, which is how I am able to add all the sound effects and music. As you see here, there's only one track for sound. This means that I have one track to get in, say, all the extra sound bars for the sound displacement that I was talking about, and it includes the same track that I need for my music and the same track that I need for all the sound effects. Not to mention I might want more than one sound effect at once. Well, what I do for that? Well, naturally I can only do so much at a time. Sure, I could use Vegas Movie Studio, but I'm not really proficient with that, and it's a little bit harder to find, and definitely this one's more user-friendly. So, I mean, for you may not want to, have that many soundtracks. So, and I prefer doing this because it slows me down and lets me really make sure that I know what I'm doing. If I had all the soundtracks, all the sound lines there, then I may be rushed and not really look at it. So I actually kind of prefer the one track. So what I will do is multiple saves. So like see in my first save, which is basic scene alignment, I just have my extra sound tracks when it's that black camera that the sound displacement is on. And, oh, sorry, that's my screen there. So, so that fills my soundtrack. I have music playing the whole time, ideally, and so that's going to ruin it. So what I do? Well, so I have to just conclude that this basic sound, this first save is going to be just for basic sound alignment. So when I'm done doing that for all the scenes, I'll press like save to my computer, and then it's going to ask for my name, and next, and it's going to save. And so now it's going to be one complete thing that's part of everything. So now that extra track that I added is now going to be part of the original audio. So, see, I have all my videos here. Now see, let's say I deleted all this, okay? Now, let's say that this video up here is the combination of all those three scenes. So see, something like that. Now that audio track that was just there is now molded into the original audio. Hence, now the audio is only taking up one track. Now I can add sound effects or music. And so now say pretend this is music, okay? Let's say now I can finally add music in the audio department. So then, I'll save it again. Blah blah blah. It'll save. Now the music and the sound is part of one track. So, now, let's pretend this is the music and the sound together. I'm talking about the sound for the scene, not sound effects. So, now, that's all together. And again, I have my audio track available. So now I would add my sound effects. Hence, now, all three of them together and now they're all there, and I will still have the audio track available if I want to do it a fourth time. And I will end up doing it a fourth time for captions, because one is basic, my first save. The second save is for audio, which is sound effects usually is first. Third is music, and fourth is captions, because I'm not sure if this is a glitch on my computer or not, but I noticed for captions, when you type them, they have the best resolution when you save it once. If you drag an old movie that has the combined track, you drag that back into the window movie maker with the captions are going to be slightly square. It's not bad, but it's there and it's noticeable, and it gets worse at every save. So you want to save the captions until the last thing. So now that you've discovered my basic order, now you're going to see my actual details in editing and how I add the music and sound effects for some select scenes. Okay guys, so now I'm going to give you a more detailed look at the exact editing in my movie. So this right here is Vegas Movie Studio, which, like I said, I don't really use, but it will give you an accelerated glimpse of how I do it. I'm going to grab the camera right here. Okay, because like I said, the Windows Movie Maker only has one track, so it would take time. I'd have to do some sort of time lapse or something to let you see my whole process, so it's a lot easier just to put it together in all of this, because it has more than one soundtrack. So, first, there's the video, and the video, that's just the generic thing with the sound, and the screen is over here. It's kind of small, but that's because I need more room with all the sound effects, and I could make it bigger if I wanted to. So that's the generic video, and there's that scene. So if I had that weird camera thing that I was talking about, I could add another track that sounds off by a couple seconds. That way it would correct it. But like I said, but we're not going to do that, because let's just say it's correct. So that's the sound, the generic sound. Now I'll go over here and then watch this. It's the main scene, and then someone walks in and turns on a lightsaber. Then she turns it off, then she turns it on. Now I need to add sound effects for that. So I have some sound effects. So I added, there's lightsaber off and lightsaber on. Here's a track right here, track 3, it's open. I already put them here, so it's a little easier for us to look at. So here's that, and I'm going to put the lightsaber on right there. She turns it on again later, so I'm going to put that right here. Let's see. So I'm going to play it just to test that. Let's see, have a perspective here. Okay, yeah, so see, she has it on. And then right there, she's turning it off right there. So I want to add my lightsaber off. I'm putting it here, down here on this lower track instead of up here, because sometimes the sound is a lower volume than the other one. You see how all that bigness, all these lines means that it's really loud, and the thinner lines here means that it's quieter. And so maybe I want this one to be louder and this one to be quieter. And so see here how this one has a higher bar than this one? Well, okay, so I want this one to be louder, so hence a different bar. That's why I needed a third bar. So now let's watch it all together. So there you go, the lightsaber sound effect of it being turned on, the lightsaber turning off, and the lightsaber turning on. There you go, that's the sound effect. Now, the final step, music. So I picked some Star Wars music. I already cut it and trimmed it here, but it's not going to be like that. Normally it would be up there, and I would just drag it over to here, add a little bit of fade like this on either side, and I drag, and I already cut it so that it's the perfect length of the video. So now let's watch it all together. Alright, so see, that is how you make it. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. I just added the generic basic video, the sound effects, perhaps a second row of sound effects, and the music. Now if this were in my other movie maker, I'd have to do just the sound, and you know, we talked about this earlier in the saves. Just the sound, save. Just the sound effects, save. Just the music, save. And we already talked about that. This just gives you an overall coverage of how I do it. The only thing left to mention is the credits, and that's in the other movie maker. In fact, why don't I just go out into that so you can kind of see what that is. Clicking on. Here's the other movie maker. There's see titles and credits right there, and it gives me all the choices, title, beginning, end. You know, I do title at the beginning, type whatever I want, then title, animation. You know, I add like paint drip, which is this. Words fade in like that, and then I can edit the text font and color. You know what font is, you know, the design of the word, so now it looks different. And the background color, let's make it black. And the main color for the words, let's make it red. So now you got that. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to watch something, and I'm going to show you, let's observe all the stuff working together. Here's Jacques Pierre, Friday the 14th. Notice here immediately we have the sound effects, the rain, the credits right here, Jacques Pierre, the music from Wall-E in the background, and of course the generic film. Here in this movie in particular, we even have lighting in the back for thunder. So you see that? There was credits down there. And you got the music. Let's skip ahead a bit. So now, you hear more music in the background. And get ready for a sound effect, because he's talking. That's a door sound effect I just added. Now get ready for a punch sound effect. See that? Again, one more time. That was sound effects. So yeah. So that, you can see, is the essence of the movie right there. I just put all those three things together. So if you have any questions, just go ahead, feel free to email me everything, but I'm pretty sure that I covered everything. The only small details is that I could either also put it on DVD, which is a different thing, that's for iDVD or Windows DVD Maker, but now I kind of do YouTube, so that's a different thing. In fact, if you want me to make a video on how you put things on YouTube, if you've always wondered, if you haven't done it yourself, go ahead and ask me and I can make that for you. So that's pretty good, and if you have any further questions about movie making, just go ahead and ask. But I would really recommend getting that movie maker, because I can't tell you what it's done for me. It's so user friendly. I didn't have anyone teach me. I taught myself everything. I mean, you know, it's like iMovie on the Mac. You know, it's a symbol for something. You have to just click on it and find out what it is. But here, if you want, you know, make a movie title, it doesn't have to be a symbol. It actually says make a movie title, and you click on it, and so that's why it's really easy. So now I want you to start making your own movie, and maybe you can, this will help. And if this documentary has helped, let me know, because I'm hoping I'm telling people right. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.